Thank you for your testimony. We'll now take questions from the committee, and if you don't mind, I'm going to start. The first question I have is for Duane. I find the story you told about the social worker in Farmington Hills, school social worker, to be pretty jarring. And I just, not being pretty familiar with the nuances of the career in the field, what would cause someone who's been practicing in this field for 40 years to not be able to pass an exam? What is deficient in the exam that would lead to that? And I mean, from what I understand, that there is a high rate of failure about this exam in particular. And I'm just wondering, what is the cause of that?
Yeah, if you want to take the first, and then I can add some supplemental.
Not a problem. There's layers. The exam is racially biased, anxiety. After you take it once and you don't pass it, it increases your anxiety, so you're not able to really focus and concentrate on that exam. At least that's what the individuals who I know who couldn't pass it, including myself, have said. The problem is the exam is not one street, one way. It's a bunch of different avenues. You take it multiple times. It's not the same exam, so you can't just study that same thing. Each time is different, which it does increase your anxiety. Some people have ended up in the hospital because they couldn't pass it because of depression. No, you didn't ask for that aspect, but some of those, that's the reasons why we're not able to really pass the examination.
The other things that I would add, particularly on for our older social workers or folks who are coming into social work as a second or third career, we know that standardized testing is already more difficult for folks who it may be 20, 30, 40 years since you've taken a standardized test. For this particular social worker, they had been out of school since the early 90s, right? And so they had attempted to take the exam 6 times at $260 a time, plus whatever study materials and time off from work that is also required. The other challenge that honestly a lot of school social workers particularly have is you're not working a calendar year. And so to gather your 4,000 hours of required in Michigan, at minimum takes 2 years of full-time work. So our school social workers in particularly are not able to take an examination till at least the 3rd, maybe 4th year into their licensing process, and you only get 6 renewals of a limited license, which gives you roughly 7 total years to complete either your supervision, your required hours, and your examination. So people's window has already shrunk quite considerably versus other aspects of social workers, which would be fixed also by restructuring our tiers and eliminating that 6-year cap. Because the other problem that this particular social worker and many others have is there's no other way to stay licensed in any capacity once you've reached that 6-year renewal cap. That is a finite number in Michigan currently, and at that point people need to either leave the state and try to get licensed in another state or find a different profession. There's another similar case where there was 6 social workers that got hired at Sparrow at the same time here in Lansing, and half of them passed their social work exam and half of them didn't after their 6 years, and so those 3 had to be let go from their jobs. And it's really challenging in many settings because social work also has title protection, and so you can't call yourself or work as a social worker unless you also have a license. So those people are also losing their professional identity at the time that they're losing their jobs.